boys know what's about to happen to you. You leave now.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Mr. Glaza, the media teacher here at Columbia City High School, and with me is JJ Geiger. Now, JJ, what do you do right now with your day in, day out, your job?
I'm actually an editor, and some people don't know what an editor does, but I basically take all the footage from production when they're shooting an episodic TV show or a film, and I put it together in an order that allows you to watch it at home and understand the story. When they're shooting, I'm usually a day behind everybody. So if they're on day 2, I'm editing day 1 stuff.
Some of the projects that you've worked on have actually came out, and I've seen your work on Amazon Prime. Can we talk about this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I know you have some non-disclosure agreements that you're very secretive about on your projects, but these have been published. So there's a movie was with Tom Cruise called Reacher, and it's been turned into a TV series of the same name. So if you like action, kind of espionage, starring very strong action hero, that's Reacher. What was the one we were just talking about? That
Most Dangerous Game. Most
Dangerous Game, and your website is impressive. I have to tell you that. And you had your hand in a lot of different things over the years, because you graduated from Columbia City High School.
Yep.
And I'm super happy to have you back and as a member of this program. Share real quick, what do you remember out of audio and video class?
Gosh. Well, we did the announcements, so we shot with, at the time, I think we shot with 2 cameras. And we when I left in 1999, which is so long ago for them, before some of them were even born, but we weren't cutting on computers. We were cutting from VHS to VHS. Like we'd have to queue up the tape and hit record pause and wait for the section that we wanted to punch into, and then hit record and hit pause again when we wanted to stop. So it was linear editing at that point.
And so you get to film basically for Hollywood. Now, you could say the industry.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
The industry for Hollywood. Forgive me, you're shooting for Hollywood in California, but you can work from anywhere, right?
Basically? Right now, yes. Let me see if I can. Like I cut I have one desk for my home and then one desk for work. I mean, a little bit of geek speak, but like the computer that I'm working on is really just mimicking another computer across the valley from. I mean, it's very nice. I mean, I don't have to commute 2 hours a day just to work anymore. So
that's so cool.
Great.
And we could talk careers all day long probably, but I wanted to bring you on because you're an expert. You could say you've had your hands in the professional world of video making, of filmmaking, of television series. You've probably seen from initial ideas to scripting to initial first shoots, pilot episodes, to series wrap-ups that you've had your hand in for a little ways here. But I would love to get your perspective on when it comes to filming a project. There's kind of a couple different ways to do it, but the big couple of different ways is there's multiple camera shoots, multi-cam shoots, where you have 1, 2, 3, 4 cameras, 20 cameras, all pointed at the same thing. Or you can kind of go single camera shoot, which is if you're scraping by on a budget to buy one camera. What do you see are the advantages and disadvantages of multi-camera shoots versus single camera shoots? From your perspective of when you put together the final product as an editor, what do you see as the advantages?
Well, when you're using single cam, you definitely have to be meticulous in what you're shooting. Like with multiple cameras, you might have a medium, you might have a close-up, and let's say the camera operator trips or moves the camera, but you still know that performance is good. You at least have the medium shot that you can use. I mean, that's kind of a broad example of a good reason to shoot multiple cameras. But if you're using single cam, you have to prepare. You have to know exactly what you want to see. You have to rehearse a little more with actors, and background too. Like you want to make sure that things hit at a certain time. Whereas if you're using multiple cameras, you may not have to rehearse as much. It is really
Because if you get a bad shot here, you might have a good shot from this angle, and so
Exactly.
you can intentionally choose that one. Okay.
Exactly.
The boy who wants her.
Pick me up at 8?
You really go out with some guy you don't know?
Well, you can't be worse than the guys I do know.
And the boy who can't have her.
Serena.
No, look, Blair's my best friend, and you're her boyfriend, and she loves you.
I guess popularity has its price. You know you love me, Gossip Girl.
If you're, let's say you're shooting a comedy and you're shooting across coverage, so you're shooting on this person here, and you're shooting this person here, and you're shooting the same kind of sized close-up, you can get reactions really easily for the correct jokes. And so instead of shooting a medium shot and a close-up on one person, and then you turn the camera around to shoot the other way, you're going to have to remember, oh, we did a joke that was this. We have to make sure that we get reactions or a line that coincides with that really great ad lib. But if you're shooting cross coverage, you already get that. And there are very talented directors that use single camera very well, and there's directors that just use multi-camera like seamlessly. Like there are times where I'm able to just use one take. For if you prep for it, you can run a show and a shoot fairly efficiently. And that's helpful for the actors and all the crew because they get to leave and go home sooner than later.
Get it done really, really fast. Of course, in class, we're going to do both. We're going to have you guys shoot with multiple cameras, and we're going to do single shot projects. It forces you to think through what do you actually want to get, what coverage you need, and using our shot list, our storyboards, guys. That those will help you plan and make the best use of your time, so everybody knows what needs to be done, and you can literally just go through and check off your list. If you can't spend 10 grand, 20 grand, some of these Hollywood cameras, I'm thinking of the RE Red or the Dragon, being like, hey, you could buy this house or you could buy this camera, your choice. That's a little bit later in this class. Right now, I just want you guys thinking about what shots you want from what camera and when. And if you don't have multiple cameras, how do we do that? On behalf of everyone, that unsung heroes in the world of media, thanks for doing what you do, JJ.
Jack Reacher, parents deceased, retired Army.
Bronze Star, Silver Star, and a Purple Heart.
What in God's name is a guy like that doing in Margrave?
What's a guy like that doing in jail? Zip ties?
Cuffs didn't fit him.
You guys recycle. You boys knew what's about to happen to you. You'd leave now.
Don't go getting yourself arrested for murder.
Shooter was someone who knows firearms well.
Lightning.
Bullets were 95 grain, that's subsonic. This wasn't a first timer.
These people are connected and stone cold killers.
So be smart, don't break the law, and promise me you won't end up in another holding cell.
No.
Looking for payback?
Payback, justice, vengeance. I'm just gonna break the hands of 3 drunk kids.
There's 4 of us.
One of you's gotta drive to the hospital.
It's not a twist off. Show off.
Mr. Geiger,
Okay.
you work with a lot of professional grade productions. What, this framing right here, would you say is what sort of shot? It's not a tracking shot or a panning shot. It is a...
Yeah. What you're framed as right now is some directors call it a 2-button close-up.
Oh, okay.
But it's a meat because it's 2 buttons on your shirt.
Right.
But yeah, it depends on the show because there are close-ups and then there are ECUs. Like a wide
Extreme
shot.
close-ups, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean that could be here, it could be here, like as far, like a close-up or extreme close-up like that. Yep. Now a lot of dramatic shows, like network stuff, they like where we're at right now is probably a good close-up, like a pretty standard close-up.
Right. So they do flex in their names a little bit, which is kind of unique to the industry, that everyone kind of has a little bit different take on it. But in general, I'm glad we took the time to learn those terms. It'll come in super handy when planning out the shots that you're going to have other people grab for your projects.
Yeah. And one of the things I think is really beneficial, and it wasn't until someone kind of mentored me in a sense with editing and then with just like cutting footage together, is that the fact that your eyes really play a big part of how cutting is concerned. So, and it also determines on where you're looking within the camera. Mm-hmm. So, and also the 180 rule or the line. I don't know how much you guys go over that.
We haven't covered that yet, but that'll be probably something that we get into a little bit. Someone write that down. Ask me later in class.
Yeah, 180 or the line, or there's so many interpretations of how people talk about it, but it's almost like you're staying on one side of the action to pick up certain things. And you'll notice that if you're watching TV, it's like if someone's looking this way and then they cut and the other person is looking this way, it's almost like they're looking at one another. And if you think of when you're cutting and you're watching footage and watching a TV show, is they have this invisible ball, and it's tossed by whatever they're looking at. So if these two people are having a conversation, the ball is just being bounced back and forth. But then there's a part where, oh, well, I look at my phone. Oh, well, they look down and they pick up their phone, and you can cut to the phone, and you can cut back to them.
Right.
Or they look off to the distance. Well, what are they looking at? You can cut to whatever they're looking at. Edit in a similar fashion, a lot of stuff just becomes very fluid.
It leads the eye.
Exactly. Great stuff. It just follows those real rules. Subconsciously. Like if you're cutting enough, you just do it instinctively. But then there's also times where it also, like, breaking that rule also causes different ways and different emotions with the way you're watching the footage. So let's say you're that conversation between these two people. If the one person is looking at the other and then this person is looking down, I mean, that shows some kind of emotion, like, oh, well, is this person shameful? Is embarrassed? Something along those. So the where you cut and how you cut can show a lot of emotion just by where you're cutting into the footage. Right. So yeah, there's just a lot of stuff that you learn over the years to make things like that.
And what I try and impress upon the students is that little things can help tell a story. You had mentioned, just subtly a looking down in a shot can add a lot to what that person is emotionally saying. Or we're so used to seeing it on camera because of the quality that comes out of professional work production houses like the one you operate. And so I think sometimes because it's so natural person to person, that it's hard to recognize that it's there because we're so used to that's a person, they communicate the same way on screen that they wouldn't. And so you tend to only notice it when it's bad or when it's not necessarily a high quality production.
Right.
So I think it's fun that you point that out, and it's really just being conscious of something that we're so familiar with seeing that it doesn't often take place. That'll probably make more sense.
Speaking of stuff that bad visual effects, instantly you're just like, yeah, I don't like this show now. You know, it's subtle, but the thing is, 90% of the visual effects that you see in a show, you wouldn't even recognize it being a visual effect because they're so good. It's just those 2% shots that you're like, this doesn't play right.
Cheesy fun.
Yeah.
The best shows are the ones you just watch and you hardly even notice what's happening.
Right.
Let me ask you this kind of as a final question.
Sure.
Are you, as a professional who edits while getting paid for it, it puts bread and butter on your table, as a professional, can you just sit and watch TV anymore, or are you always at work? Can you watch? Can you watch?
It's difficult. It's because I see things frame by frame now. Like I can catch subtleties before cuts, you know. A big thing is like blinks on me. Like if you cut on a blink, it really irritates me. It's just one of those personal things. Or if an eye darts before the cut, you know, things like that. And I've always been told like every cut is a decision. So whenever something like that happens, I'm like, I don't feel like that was the right decision, you know. But it definitely depends on the project. But to answer your question, no, I don't really watch TV normally anymore. I can, and it's hard, but it has to be a really good show that I get lost in it.
On behalf of everyone that unsung heroes in the world of media, thanks for doing what you do, JJ. I think it's cool that you have ties back to Columbia City and that you kind of wanted to say, hey, you know, I'd love to, you know, throw in my 2 cents to help out a classroom, to help talk about camera shots today and editing.